Hey guys, good evening and welcome to a brand new episode of Sipping Tea with Suzanne. I am your fabulous host, Suzanne, and I am so excited to be with you here tonight because I am speaking with Pastor Thiago. Hi, Pastor.
How you doing, Suzanne?
I am good. How are you?
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for saying yes. I appreciate you appearing on the show. All right, so we're going to dive in. Thank you. We're going to dive in and chat about a whole lot of things. But first, I do want to say thank you to my fabulous sponsors, Life Garden Cafe. Thank you so much. As you know, they are amazing decor, great people, wonderful food. They're your one-stop destination if you're going to grab a bite, have a meeting, or host an event. Paul Anderson from Paul Anderson Photography, your go-to photographer for weddings, funerals, barbecues, cookout, anything like that. So thank you all so much, and thank you for all my wonderful viewers who tune in week after week. So this week, my Pastor T, I'm going to have 2 more episodes for the month of June, and then we'll be on hiatus for July and August, and we'll be back in September. But in the meantime, let's welcome Pastor Thiago.
Thank you, and I'm glad to be here.
All right, I am so glad that you're here. So it's funny, I started coming to the cafe, and I met you through the cafe, and Marcella kept saying that I had to meet you. She's like, you have to meet Pastor Thiago, you have to meet Pastor Thiago, and we met here through an event that Marcella had.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the coffee shop is such a great place to meet people.
Yeah.
And that was the whole idea.
Yeah.
You know, to connect the church and the community, and to meet, you know, people that you probably would never meet before in your life.
Now, so you mentioned something. So a lot of folks don't know the history behind the coffee shop, Life Garden Cafe. So tell us how that all got started, because there's a great story behind that.
Yes. So I came to Worcester in 2014 to plant a multicultural ministry. And the idea was to connect differently with the community. And so when we got to this building, we thought, what can we do to achieve that goal? You know, to be able to have a ministry that it's something different beyond the Sunday morning worship service. And one of the things that we envisioned and imagined was a place where we could meet people, have conversations, have, you know, interactions with interesting people. And so the coffee shop was one of the things that came to mind, and we decided to invest in that idea. And so we started the renovations in 2019, and then the pandemic came, and we were able to open up after in 2020. So the whole process was a dream, was a vision that we had, you know, to get people together, connect with the broader community around the church, and also serve the community. You know, have space, a space like this to gatherings and podcasts. So it's nice. It's beautiful.
And now there's a show being recorded here, right?
Exactly.
I love it. But no, you know, that's amazing. And that evolved and turned into Life Garden Cafe. But, you know, I like the idea of folks coming together and discussing, you know, faith and, you know, whatever, dresses, gowns, makeup, you know, whatever, and connecting it through food and, you know, and going forward from there. And so many things happen here.
Yeah. And, you know, we can never predict who is coming.
Yeah.
So people from all over the world comes.
Yeah.
And different generations, different races.
Yeah.
So we are just open. You know, we are just enjoying the presence of different people in our building.
I love that.
And of course, we are still a church, but the main goal is to be a space. You know, we're not open to preach for people in the coffee shop. You know, to try to get them to our church. The main goal is to meet people, you know, so they can also enjoy themselves, their companies, their friendships, their conversations here. So yeah, it's been a great experience. We've been meeting a lot of different people, making different connections. Yeah, I hope people will get to know more and come.
Well, continue. So, through the coffee shop, there is Jesus Life Center, which is the church that you're the pastor of.
Yes.
Right? And it's connected, so it's right here at 1048 Main Street.
Yeah.
So, you know, go to church.
Yes, you're more than welcome to come. We are a congregation. I'm from Brazil.
Yes.
So there's a lot of Brazilians, but also we have Hispanics, people from all over the world actually that comes here, and we are, you know, open to different perspectives, different cultures, different experiences, and I personally actually love to know more about people, to know their experience, their perspectives, their backgrounds. I think all of that, when we combine and when we are open to receive, we live more happily. You know, we are enriched by others' lives.
That's our pastor's grace right there.
Amen.
That's that pastor's grace we see. No, I'm joking. But it's good though, and it's true.
Yeah.
You are correct. You know, it's so important to learn from others. You know, like your calling was ministry. You know, God led you to ministry, and you know, you get to talk to different people and hear their stories and their experiences. You know, and anyway, I'm gonna go around that. But you know, like what I do here, it's just, you know, it's not the same thing, but it's like it's just a different way, you know, to get to listen to others and hear their experiences, and you know, like why they do things, you know, or things like that. And you know, I attend your church. I have enjoyed it. I know I've been traveling lately, so yeah. But you know, sometimes there's a translator. Sometimes it's in English. So it is really very inclusive, very welcoming. The music ministry is incredible. I love it, and you know, I can't wait for y'all to come and experience it. So 1048 Main Street, Jesus Life Center. Come on down and check out Pastor Thiago. But before we move on, in regards to the cafe, so your wife, she is the decorator.
She is, yes.
Let's talk about that, because she likes to decorate and do her thing.
Yes, so one of the goals when we started envisioning and dreaming about this project was to have a welcoming space, a place where you could feel welcome and actually wanted to stay, you know. And so she's very much into decoration, and she loves, you know, art, and she paints, and she does all these creative ideas. So it was in her hands to do the whole designing.
No, it is. I mean, it's lovely, and she changes it up from time to time. And because I remember the first time, like when I walked in, I was like, oh, that is so cute. And then when Marcelo brought me over here, I was like, oh my goodness. And that time there was a pool table, there was like a little entrance thing, and like there was so many, like there's been so many different changes since like it's about a year ago. And I know she has a lot of fun with that, and just really runs with it. So do you do any decorating at all, or?
Not at all. I help her, you know, I support her, lifting, you know.
Carry things up the stairs.
But every detail, every piece, every single thing she thinks about it, she knows where it goes. So I trust her with that.
I love that. No, she does a wonderful job with it, and just, you can see it. Like when people walk in, like they're just blown away. I was at an event here about 2 weeks ago, and you know, this part wasn't open, but like I told a couple of people, I was like, just go take a look at the space, and they loved it. So like I said, you know, Marcel and Jefferson, they're so fantastic. So you know, the space is fantastic, the people, the food. So you know, it was a great idea, and you know, I'm just loving to see the growth and you know what's happening with it, and as more people discover and fall in love with the cafe.
Yeah. this is a part of the city that people sometimes get surprised by what we did here. Because it's such a urban area,
It is.
and there's a lot of things going on outside. But once you get in, it's different, you know.
It's like an escape. It's like a little oasis. You're like,
exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're like, whoa, how did that get there? That was my first reaction. It's like, oh, okay, just like, I love it, but
And I think that is part of the vision. Because not being, you know, over spiritual, but I think a church is a place where you can come and be welcome. And in a sense, you enter a different dimension. You know, you connect with a different reality that you didn't perceive before. So beautiful spaces are like this, right? So you enter, you are impacted by it, and hopefully it will change people in different ways.
I love that, but a pastor being over spiritual, perish the thought. All right, so it's funny. I have a love affair with Brazil. So my best friend, I have two best friends, and they're both from Brazil.
Oh, nice.
And so I've been to Brazil a couple of times, and I swear to you, like wherever I go, like the people that are drawn to me, and like they're always Brazilian. They come over and we talk, and like I just have such a great relationship. And you know, it's like that's how I found Marcel and then you guys. So you immigrated from Brazil when you were 19.
Yes.
What was that like? What was that transition like?
It was a big challenge because I came by myself.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I came to study English.
Oh, wow.
It's been 22 years now.
Oh, wow.
And so, I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it would be easier.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, having that experience of going to a different country, to a different culture, meeting different people, being in your own at 19, it was really challenging, but at the same time transforming in different levels of my life.
Wow.
And so I'm glad that I came. I don't regret at all. And of course I miss Brazil, right?
Yes.
It's a beautiful country,
It is.
beautiful people. But I love to be in the U.S. and having spent more time here than in Brazil, I can share both cultures, you know, and I can have different perspectives of different things. I think it's a great experience.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, no, I mean, I came when I was a teenager also, but, you know, my parents were here. So at least I had that, and my siblings were here because they had come over before me. But for you to come, you know, from Brazil to America on your own and learning a different language, I mean, at least English was, you know, it's our language. I didn't have that language barrier, so it must have been like eye-opening, like you said.
Yes.
And, you know.
I'm still learning, still learning every day.
Yeah, I think, but we should all learn every single day, right?
Yes.
But yeah, no, it is definitely different. And, you know, as you said, like you thought it was easier. Because like when we were kids in Jamaica, like you were told about America, right? So you didn't wash your dishes because you had dishwashers. Like you didn't wash, because in Jamaica, like we washed our dishes. Yet you didn't do your laundry because there's washer and dryers. So you're like, oh my goodness, like you're thinking it's like magic. It is hard work, like just with anything, right?
Yeah, it's like learning to speak again.
Yes.
You know, it's learning to do basic things that you were, you know, normally used to do, and now it's completely different.
Okay.
But I think we grow, we are forced to grow, you know, into a new life, into a new perspective of life. And I wish, like you say, we should continue to cherish and nurture that kind of change of perspectives, of growth, because there's so much to learn, you know, and we cannot settle for what we have now. We have to continue to expand our own understanding of things, the way we communicate with people, the way we interact with people. All of that, it's important. And I think what we do here, my call as a pastor also, I think, reflects a little bit of that, because I truly believe that God calls us to love one another. And loving, it's not an easy
No, not always.
thing, right?
Yeah.
It requires work, dedication. It requires communication, learning. It's a whole life journey.
It is. No, it absolutely is. I'm glad you mentioned that. I want to get back to that in a minute. But, one of the things you said, like, love's required. It's work.
It
is.
is.
Because it's like, it's like, think about like a newborn baby. And like they're born, they're cute, until they stop sleeping at night.
Yeah.
But, they're cute, you love them. Like you can love them unconditionally because they're not doing anything to mess up.
Right.
But as we're all human beings and we're prone to error, like take a spouse or a sibling or a teenage child, when they start acting out or they don't go the way you want them to go, like you're up against a roadblock sometimes, right? So you have to be intentional and you have to say, I am human, they're human, I expect them to forgive and love me when I mess up. So you have to do the same thing. So it's like, and I always say that to people because people always say, my husband, we've been married for 22 years now. And like people always is like, oh my God. And I'm like, well, it's work. Like it is hard. Some days are easier than others. Like I believe we have a great marriage, but we work at it. We don't just expect it to just wake up and la la la. There's days that
it's all flowers.
Thank you, right? There's days like it's like they don't put the dishes in the dishwasher, and that's every day because you live with this person 24/7. So it has to be intentional.
It has, and also, I think it shows our true characters. Who we really are in our closest relationships. The way we treat one another, the way we connect with each other. And of course, no relationship is perfect. Besides the hard work, there is also our failures. We are all human beings. So the mercy and the compassion part comes into play in the relationships. That's where we really learn to be human beings, because we see our flaws, we see our mistakes, and we have to continue in spite of that. We have to keep going and make things work. And of course, we have God's grace to help us through the process.
Amen. I knew I was going to say amen or two during this episode. Yeah, but you do need God's grace. And I think, not all marriages, honestly, because sometimes when folks go into marriage, for the wrong reasons, so it don't typically last. But, when you're in love with someone, you have to continue to be committed every day to making it work instead of just giving up, because there's going to be moments like of roadblocks and moments of thing when you're just like, this is hard.
Yeah.
But as long as you have the same end goal and you're committed to loving each other through it and showing God's grace, I think you can work it out.
Yeah. And it's a partnership, between two people. A family must come together. And, well, this is one of my values, and I think the Latino culture brings that value, of family, of community. We cherish that very much, that people are the only things we have, truly. Relationships are the things we have to value the most, because when, things are hard, or when you get sick, or when you're going through a hard time, are the people, the ones that will support you. They are there. But for that to happen, we need to work on these relationships. We have to build them. We have to take care of them. So it's a lot of work, but also it has its benefits
It
and
does.
good moments.
It's worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Like
yes.
it is worth it. Like you have to like yourself, I think, and just like the people that you hang out with. And you know, it's funny. I was thinking about that because I had seen something, and you know, I was cracking up, and it says that I've mastered poor people problems. I want rich people problems. And you know, it's funny, haha. But I was thinking about like as you said that, you know, it's like you can work and be a horrible human being and be as rich as possible, right? And you get sick. And you have
Right.
the best care in the world, but nobody there in that $5,000 a night room
Yeah.
to even just hold your hands or just
Yeah.
sit with you for a minute. And the person that's in the public hospital that, yeah, they don't have the best care, or, you know, they don't have the best insurance or they have free insurance, and they're surrounded by so much love that, you know, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it truly is important with the people versus the monetary things. So that's
Yeah.
really what matters in the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. I think the most important things in life sometimes are those things we don't really
Value.
pay attention to it. You know, uh, there is grace all around us. You know, there are beautiful things going on around
Yeah.
us, but sometimes pain or greedy or envy will take our focus away, will
Yeah.
block our ability to see these things in our lives.
Yeah.
And it kind of shortens our perspective of what really matters, of what really is important to us. So in order to experience this kind of relationship that lasts and that builds up in our lives, we must open up our perspective, our eyes to see the beauty around us. You know, the value of people in our lives. You know, in the family. You know, how we take care of each other. In our community. You know, who are we valuing? Who are we, you know, connecting with and working with? And all of these things, they must come to the forefront and catch our attention. And I believe when we do that, life gets a little bit easier,
It does.
more joyful.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. You know, I write a lot, and I don't know if you're on social media, so
Yeah, a little bit.
you're not really.
Yeah, not really.
It's okay. You're not missing much, but you know, for what I do utilize social media because it's a tool, you know,
Yeah.
for our business and to promote and all that. And you know, I'm always talking about intentional joy because you know, there's so much in the world that if you focus on it, you can get overwhelmed and you can be unhappy. But you have to be intentional about your joy, and joy truly does come from within. But as you were saying, it does come from valuing the people that are around you, valuing yourself, treating others with kindness, and you know, being intentional about it. So my dad lived with me, and my dad's from the islands, so I don't know if Brazilian fathers, like they're strict, like it's different now. Like you've come to America, you're Americanized, so like you're different. But it's like Caribbean parents, like people from those countries, are very strict. And like
Old school. Yeah.
oh my God, like he
Yeah.
had such archaic. So we butted heads, you know, and he lived with me. And, you know, I remember the year 2018, I had gone to a couple funerals, and two of them were for two individuals that were very young. They were under 12. They were like two young kids. It was just
Terrible.
heartbreaking. And I remember saying, like, I'm done. I'm not doing any more funerals this year. And my dad he lived with me, and I never really took him to places because I was busy. Like, I was always busy. And I remember saying to him, like, come next summer, it's you and me. Like, because he liked the beach. not to swim, like to go. And I said,
Right.
come next
The
summer.
heat and
Yeah. So he's from Jamaica, right? Like,
Right.
and he hadn't been to Jamaica. And I said, come next summer. It's like me and you. And I reached out to my brother, and I said to my brother, like, my dad had lost a lot of weight. He was skinny. I said, I want some of your clothes that you no longer use because, I'm going to, for my dad, like, so, we can go to places and whatever. And he ended up passing away.
oh, I'm sorry. to
Like,
hear.
literally, like, less than a month after I said that to him. And it just really highlighted to me that, like, no moments is promised.
Right.
And you have to enjoy the people that are in your life in the moment.
Right.
Because I was busy.
Right.
I don't know what I was busy what, but I was busy. I was like doing this and doing that. I was here and there, and he just wanted. And I said, hey, next year, it's you and me. Next summer, it's you and me. I already talked to Clifford. We got the clothes. You have the clothes. I'm gonna start taking you places. We're gonna start going to places.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that opportunity. I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so intentional
Right.
with, like, spending time with loved ones, because
Yeah.
it just,
Yeah. I think these moments and experiences, they give us a different perspective. They kind of shift our perspective on what really matters in life. And there is always time for us to learn, room to grow. There is always more to learn. And of course, no one's relationships with their parents are perfect, right? There is always something. But, we also have to kind of be merciful to ourselves and realize that life is happening. Life happens, and it's difficult to figure things out in the moment. We sometimes I grew up like this, putting too much pressure on myself. I have to reach these standards. I have to do these and those things, and you keep, hurting yourself because in the end you never measure up to the expectations. So I think we must realize that sometimes we have to forgive ourselves for things we did or didn't do, and try to change our ways and our vision, so the things we have to do now in the present, the relationships we have now in the present, may benefit from that change. So it's really a learning mentality, approach to life that we must take, that no one's ready. We'll never be able to do everything we want to do or we plan to do. We kind of have to be gracious to ourselves and say, I'm doing the best I can in this moment. Did I make mistakes? Probably, yes. But at the same time, I did my best. I'm trying to do my best. I will keep trying to do my best, and with God's grace, we can be better. We can do better things. We can be better to our kids, to our families. So, yeah.
no, thank you. I struggled with it for a while after he passed, and I mean, to forgive myself, otherwise I wouldn't be able to move forward. But there are times that
Yeah.
I'll wake up at nights and forget that he's no longer with us, and then I remember the whole cycle. But you're right,
Yeah.
I have to continuously show myself grace, to say, you got to forgive yourself, because, like, again, I thought I had time. I was like, we had plans, and but just make the best, like you said, off the moment, in the moment.
Right.
So
Right.
that's my goal. That's why I'm so intentional. That's why, like, everybody's, when they see me, they're like, you're so there, like your presence, because like I feel that when I show up, I'm gonna show up fully
Yeah.
as me and be in that moment and enjoy the people in that moment. And if it's like a negative space or a negative energy, I'm out. I don't want to waste my moments
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
in places that I don't want to be, or I don't feel authentic, or I don't
Yeah.
feel I could be me.
Yeah. Have no time to waste.
None, right? Lord, I'm 40 something and fabulous, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate that. So, when we were talking earlier, you said that, your calling. So, I truly believe that, you have to have a calling to ministry. So, when did you receive that call to ministry that you knew that you wanted to be a pastor?
Yeah, when I came to the U.S., like I said, it was a challenging time
Yeah.
in my life, and I struggled with many things. And I come from a background of, I grew up in the Methodist Church in Brazil,
Okay.
but throughout my teenager years, I wasn't really involved and engaged in church ministry. But when I got here, I start to feel this longing, to reconnect. I don't think at the time I knew what I was hoping for or what I wanted, but I had that longing in my heart. And one day I received a call from a pastor that had just arrived from Brazil here in the U.S. And he said, I'm starting a Methodist church and I want you to visit us. And I say, okay, I'll give it a try. And I went that first, it was a Saturday night, and I never left since then.
Wow.
And I think I felt my calling to ministry right at the beginning, because it's one of those experiences where you feel that that's the reason for your life, for your existence, your purpose. That's when you feel that you belong in that place, in that role, or that's what you want to do for your life. And I don't know if it's true for every other career, but I know for mine it is true.
Yeah.
I don't see myself doing anything else. And the good part of it is that I can go through hard times, through difficult moments in the ministry, and through the good moments.
Yeah.
And I feel everything is worth it. Everything, it's part of this great calling or purpose that God has for us. And it makes my life, worth living.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I think folks do have calling, but it's a little different when you're called to minister and elevate the word of God. So let's talk about now. So like I look at right now what's happening. I truly do believe so the Christian faith is just being attacked. How do you? Well, actually, let's talk about COVID first, and then we're gonna come back to today's culture.
Okay.
So you were running the church. Like, when did you open? When was Jesus Life Center open?
So I started this ministry, me and my wife, and my son Isaac, and my wife Selma. We started in 2014 here in Worcester. But then we moved to this building here in 2016.
Okay.
And so since then, the ministry has shifted to a multicultural ministry. And then COVID happened.
Yes.
We had to close, and it was just a moment that no one could expect, right? And everything changed all of a sudden. And now, after the pandemic, it's over. Things are starting to get back to normal. People are starting to get back to the, to the rhythm of coming on Sundays, reconnecting with faith. Maybe people didn't disconnect from God. I believe that even in the lockdown moments, people are still connected, either through Zoom or different ways. But the going to a church, to a Sunday service has its, importance because you get to see people, you get to meet new people, you learn different things, you spend time with friends and with your family. So to me, that's very important, and thank God it's getting back to normal.
That's wonderful. What was it like though? So the church closed? Did you do Zoom or online?
We did Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, we did Zoom and also Facebook Live.
Yeah.
So it was challenging the first time
Yeah.
preaching to a camera,
It's different. Right?
by yourself. And when I preach, I like to interact with the church,
Yeah.
right? Make eye contact
Yeah.
and joke with folks
I
on
know,
the
right?
pews, and all of that was really strange.
It was.
But in the back of my mind, it was always the idea that people were safer home, in their houses. So to know that congregants were safe home, to me,
Yeah.
was a comfort,
Wonderful.
But it was a very hard time for everyone,
Oh,
right?
it
People
was.
lost their family members, all this craziness going around, and it was a difficult moment for sure.
I'm
Yeah.
sure. I remember our church transitioned to online also, and
Yeah.
so I was a minister. I was like born to in ministry, and I remember, like you said, preaching. Because when I preached to the congregation, it was different.
Yeah.
I was just preaching to the camera. I mean, there was Paul. He
Yeah.
was luckily
You knew.
for Paul. But this is what I'll say though: when you start preaching, and you allow the word, and I'm sure this happened to you, to just minister. You kind of forget that you're in front of the camera, and then you just start to preach. And then, I got excited, and my husband kept saying, "Don't move onto the camera," because I got excited. I was just preaching, but and you're right. The idea, you're right. Folks are safe, but mine's there's one person that needs to hear that message, maybe two, maybe three, but if one, get the message. So it was challenging at first because I'm literally just looking at a camera and preaching.
It's mixed feelings.
It is, yeah.
Because to know that more people were watching and you could reach, more people, to me was really exciting. But at the same time, when the service ended and you stopped recording or the live, and you had no one to chat with, to talk and greet and hug.
Yeah.
Oh, it was like where I am.
Exactly. It's because your church is the church, Black church is we talk and have conversation, and sometimes we have food, and it's all of that. I've been to a few churches you go and you hear the word and you go home, but our churches are not like that. So we're used to that connection. So you're right. You start off the Zoom and it's you alone in front of the camera. You're
and I imagine it was hard for people at home as well, because you watch the pastor preaching, and for that moment, it feels like church.
It does.
We are at church. The pastor is preaching, and then you turn the TV or the phone off, and you're alone in your living room. Where's everyone?
I know.
It's strange.
It was strange, no, but I do agree with what you said about you had the ability to reach a wider audience, because I had family members that my sister who was here let her friends know in Jamaica, who was able to go on and see me, and they before COVID they wouldn't have had that opportunity. So people anywhere from all over the world could join, and so there was that aspect. I am glad though that we are getting back to normal.
Yeah, I mean, one positive thing about the pandemic is that sometimes disruptions they bring new things.
They do.
Right? New ideas, new ways to connect. And to me, that was one of the things that I think we can learn from it, you know, and because the normal now, we get back to the same ways, and it kind of, we enter a new phase of we put in the autopilot. You know, life goes back to the autopilot, and everything starts to move in the same ways as usual. And to me, I believe to be creative, sometimes we need to change things up a little, disruptions, and to get a new perspective, a new dimension of things. So hopefully we don't lose that.
No,
Won't forget that.
Absolutely. No, you're right. Sometimes a disruption is needed because you're right.
Yeah.
You do get an autopilot because, you know,
Yeah.
like you've been ministering, you've been preaching, you've been going to church for so long, you have a routine, you get up, you put your clothes, you preach, you go home, you know, things like that. So that shock, that interruption had you reevaluating and really seeing where your faith falls in regards to, like, is it something that you just do or is it something that you genuinely need? And I think that in the beginning, a lot of folks were, you know, like seeking because we didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
You know, but it's normaled out. I think folks are coming back into church, you know, and it's getting normal again. We can shake hands again, and we can hug again.
Yeah,
That was something that,
Right.
In our church, it's so big. It was just like, what do we do? Like the first, when we went back after COVID, so like, what do we do? Like, I didn't know what to do with my arms.
Yeah.
So, it's nice that it's, you know, it's getting back to, I would say getting back together, but it's getting, you know, it's getting normal again and like just different, you know, things.
Yeah.
So, But no, I think
I'm really,
call to ministry is awesome. So.
yeah. I mean, I think I'm here. I was able to stay in the U.S. because of the community that I joined. I truly believe that. I met my wife at church.
Wonderful.
My son grew up in the church. So I don't have family in the U.S.
Yeah.
They are my family, and the church is my family. Yes, they are my son's grandparents, aunts and uncles.
Wonderful.
They are the brothers and sisters that I left in Brazil.
Yeah.
So it's really a support system that we built around us, and the good times, the bad times.
It's family.
It's family. Yep. It is.
It's family. That's enough. That says it all.
Yeah.
But I love that. So, you know, today, in today's culture, I feel like I have to force myself not to consistently defend my faith because I feel like a lot of people use the name of Christ and use faith to justify when they're doing something wrong, to justify when they're being discriminatory or they want to treat people poorly. And, you know, so then it's turning a lot of people away from faith, and it's making folks that are Christians like not speak up that they're Christian. Like, I'm gonna say loud and proud because I'm not gonna, you know, you're ashamed of me, she's gonna be ashamed of me, so I'm not gonna be ashamed of him. But I think folks are holding back from saying like I'm a Christian just because all the craziness that's out there, like Christianity is being attacked, and it's like that's a fraction. And, you know, false prophet will always come and say something. But for us that are Christians, like, how do you feel in this culture where you feel like you have to constantly defend your faith? Or do you experience that?
So I believe the Christian faith has many faces. In fact, one of the passages in the book of Revelation shows a great crowd before the throne of God. And there are people from different nations, different tribes, different cultures, speaking different languages. And they are worshiping God, worshiping Jesus. So I always I try to think of Christianity as this changing organism, and of course there will be opposition, there will be setbacks and problems, but I believe that we can find in each other things that will connect us to God, and God will bring us together to form a community. To me, that's a vision of God's kingdom on earth that goes beyond the sign of the church, that goes beyond the denomination or the differences in doctrine, in theological perspectives. You know, I think we can disagree in different issues related to theology or belief. But what truly connects us, it's our humanity. It's the image of God, you know, in every single human being. So I hope our vision are big enough or broad enough to see the love of God in others, in everyone. So we may connect in a deeper level instead of the superficial level that is religion. You know, oh, my doctrines are better, or my idea of God is better, my presuppositions are the right ones. And we forget that we are connected in a deeper level. We are connected in a spiritual level of our humanity, which is the core of our being, you know, the core of our identity. It's God's love for everyone. And when we prioritize or put other things in the front of that, we kind of lose the sight that God wants us to share, wants us to love each other, wants us to walk humbly before Him and realize and recognize that He is God, and we are created beings made in His image and likeness, and that no one lacks value on the side of God. God look at us and He shares us. He loves us. So yeah, that's, and maybe to preach that, it's not as appealing as other kind of theologies, that it's more about me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people likes to hear that. It's all about me, you know, you do your thing and God will be pleased with you, and just don't look around you. Don't care about the others. To me, that's not the way of Jesus, you know. That's not the way of Jesus.
Okay. All right. So how do you encourage, folks right now that are struggling, with their faith? Because I try to encourage folks just because I'm like, don't get turned away from, your faith with Christ because they're saying this about Christians, because they talked about Christ Himself. So they are also going to prosecute, Christians. So how do you, as a pastor, encourage someone right now that's struggling with their faith to say, like, it's just better for me to just hide my faith and slide under the radar so I don't get attacked?
So when you say being attacked by your faith, you mean like people disagreeing with what you believe?
Yeah, so it's like, all right, so not to talk politics, but if you notice right now, so the Republicans, like, they say they're speaking from God. They're Christians, right? Abortions is wrong, same-sex marriage is wrong, all sorts of things they're saying that is wrong. Sex before marriage and, all these things.
Yeah.
And they're attacking anybody that's not doing it. And I think whether you agree with what somebody is doing or not, you can still come from a place of love. So I think the Republican Party right now, like, they're so loud with it.
Right.
So if you're different at all, and if you don't support everything they support, it's like you're not a Christian. And one of the things I've noticed, because they're so loud and spreading hate and propaganda about who God is, and you're going to hell, you're going to hell, you're going to hell, you're going to hell, you're going to hell.
Yeah.
Like, folks is like, well, I don't want to serve that God because that's not a welcoming or inclusive. But God is love. The wages of sin is death. We know this. But God is also love. And in order for us, like, we shouldn't be judging anybody, but in order for us to connect with someone, we have to accept them.
Right. I see what you're saying, and I agree with you. I believe that, like I said, there are different ways of connecting with God. I think we have to find those ways. Everyone. I believe there's, in every human being, this desire to know God.
Absolutely.
To connect with their inner spiritual being that, it's made in the image of God. So it doesn't matter which place, as long as you are accepted and loved and respected. I believe that, politics, they have this tendency to polarize things. And weaponize and divide. And, it's one or the other.
Yeah.
But I think faith is somewhere in between, in the struggle of discerning. Faith is not lack of doubt. It's, it's the discernment process. It's finding out your place in the world. So it's more than a debate. It's more than politics. It's more than what you think or not about what the Bible says. There's so many different perspectives and interpretations and traditions inside Christianity that to claim you have the last saying or the right, the most perfect, the only way, it's almost, against the whole history of Christianity.
It is.
And so today, we live in a changing moment of history and fast pacing and everything is shifting. And the struggle to keep your faith, back to your question about how to keep our faith, is, it's a struggle to keep your heart open enough to realize that God has not forgotten about you, has not forsaken you, that God still loves you and works in your life. To me, that's the biggest challenge, because it's very easy to fall into cynicism and despair and frustration because we don't understand what's going on. Oh, things are changing so fast and I can't keep up with it. So it's very easy to get afraid and fearful of the future. And whenever we get afraid and fearful, our tendency, our brains, they will either fight or flee, right? That's
Fight
our,
or flight, yeah.
and we must re-engage in a different way with this fear. We must say, I'm not fighting and I won't fight. I will stay here and I will hear from God. I will discern what's happening. And I will learn from God's example, Jesus' example, when he came to earth. He came, as a man, in a specific time, in a specific context. So he had to learn how to be God in that place. What was, in a way, to translate the message to. So his life, Jesus' life, is a translation of what God really is to a specific moment, to a specific time. So from that moment on until 2,000 years later, we are continuously translating, interpreting what Jesus did, what Jesus spoke, what Jesus said. And that's a challenge for any generation. And to look back and say, oh, that worked in the past, so it's going to work now, and it's going to be the same now. It's just wrong. It's not the way Jesus did. It's not the way the church did. The church has always tried to answer the questions of their time, with the help of the Holy Spirit. And I don't, just to get a little churchy here, the Methodist Church has this, the Wesleyan tradition has this called Wesleyan quadrilateral, which it means tradition, the scriptures, reason, and experience. All these four things, they will give us the tools to interpret what God is doing or saying to us in this moment. And so we don't come from a perspective that everything's set and done. We are always dialoguing, communicating, discerning, having what Wesley used to say, holy conversations, where God will bring his wisdom, he will speak to us, and hopefully our faith will be strengthened.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that. That was incredible. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
So I have a podcast called Sit Down with Suzanne, and
Nice.
It's available. Thank you. It's available on Apple, Amazon, and all of that. And I've been on hiatus, and I should have been back, but this week I'm getting back. So on Sunday there'll be new episodes, season 4. And I am going to invite you on the podcast because I want to have a conversation with you and talking about faith, because that podcast, I have viewers in Jamaica, in Brazil, in Africa, in Europe, all over the world. And I would love to, what you just said, in your own words, have you speak to that on the podcast, because I feel, my fear is that there are folks that want to come to Christ, and because the ones that are, and I get it, and people say your faith should be enough, but I'm in the church, you're in the church, we know who God is, so our faith, it's harder to test our faith, but there are folks that are baby people in their faith, they maybe just, and they get hurt, and should they turn away? No, but they do, and that's the reality, because they don't know who God is.
Right.
And their first experience was trying to go in to know God, some human hurt them, and unfortunately sometimes they put that on God, which is not God. But they're too new in their faith to really truly understand that. So I'd love to have you on the podcast and really talk about faith and encourage them to say, hey, God loves you no matter what. And we all fall short of the glory of God, but because of his abiding grace every single day, we get up with the opportunity to do it over and over again and try to get closer to God and his Holy Spirit.
Right. And
So
thanks
that's a
for the invitation. Yes, I'll definitely participate. I love to be able to share those experiences and whatever way I can help expand, not limit the vision. Although our understanding and vision of God is always limited.
It is.
You know, it always comes from my own experience and perspective and culture and the environment. So, but once we realize that, I think we start to understand that, you know, like the Psalm said, be still and know that I am God.
Amen.
And God is God, we are human beings.
Yes.
But we can have conversations about it. And it's good. And I think that's where hope comes forth and build us up.
I love it. So we're going to have you on the
Thank you.
podcast. We're going to
Yeah.
talk about faith. That episode is just going to be about faith and
Nice.
maintaining your faith and holding on to
All right.
never changing God in this ever changing world. Ooh, that's
Amen.
a new title.
Nice. I like it.
You know, well, what do they say? He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yes, all right.
And we are always changing.
And we are exactly.
So I've said this once in the church. Because we are changing,
yes,
our understanding of God is always changing.
it is.
So in a way, God is changing for us, right? He is the same, but our experience of Him is different. So we gotta keep those two things.
Okay, theologian. All right.
Yeah. Don't get me started.
I know, right? We don't have any time. We're out of time.
All right.
So, no,
All right.
listen, I absolutely enjoyed our chat. Thank you
you.
so much for saying yes, for being open, for sharing your insight, your perspective. I absolutely enjoyed it, and I'm so looking forward to having you on the podcast. And
Thank
there's no video for the podcast, so it's just radio. And,
All right.
we will chat and just, so thank you once
Yes.
again. I appreciate all that you do, and I'll see you in church.
Thank you, Suzanne, and God bless you. God bless your ministry, your projects, your
Thank you.
business, and your family, your life. That
Thank
you know, the Lord knows how intense and intentional you are in serving, in helping, in being an instrument of love in this world. So.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that. So I'm going to have you sign off for our guests.
Thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure to be with you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. All right.